Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Sri Lankan President Dissanayake in Delhi, his first foreign trip after coming to power to bolster bilateral ties. Bangladesh election likely between late 2025 and early 2026, says Muhammad Yunus. Hundreds feared dead as Cyclone Chido devastates French island of Mayotte. South Korea's top court begins Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment review. And legendary Indian Tabla maestro and composer Zakir Hussain passes away at 73, leaving behind an unparalleled legacy. All right, we'll go across live to Hyderabad House, where Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sri Lanka's President, in fact, these are the visuals that we are showing you, where the bilateral meeting is happening between Sri Lanka's delegation led by Anura Kumara Dissanayake and Indian delegation led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So these are the visuals that we are showing you of the bilateral meeting happening between Indian delegation and Sri Lanka. The Sri Lanka's delegation led by Anura Kumara Dissanayake, Sri Lanka's president. So this is Sri Lanka's President Dissanayake is in Delhi, and his first foreign trip after coming to power to bolster bilateral ties between India and Sri Lanka. So these are the visuals that we are showing you, where the bilateral meeting is happening between India and Sri Lanka. India's delegation led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sri Lanka's delegation led by Anura Kumara Dissanayake, and fostering strong ties with India's closest maritime neighbour, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and visiting Sri Lanka's President Dissanayake. They are holding the delegation level talks at Hyderabad House in New Delhi. So the two leaders held a discussion on an extensive agenda encompassing trade, investment, development and security. So post this meeting, India and Sri Lanka are expected to sign several agreements. So the last time Dissanayake visited New Delhi was when he headed a National People's Power delegation, and that time there was a lot of chatter of a quick change in the political landscape of Sri Lanka and him becoming the next president of India's neighbouring nation. So Anura Kumara Dissanayake is visiting India for the second time in merely 10 months. However, this time he has arrived on a 3-day state visit. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Jessica. Jessica, what more you can tell us? Meeting happening, bilateral talks are happening between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sri Lanka's President Anura Kumara Dissanayake.
That's correct. And, at this juncture, as both of you and I speak, the two leaders have met and discussed their bilateral cooperation and looking at what more projects that the two countries would continue with, especially when it comes to connectivity and also energy. Remember, Sri Lanka right now, even though it is not in such economic distress as it was a couple of years ago, but it's still not out of the woods yet and still needs economic assistance. And also its debt recovery, its debt restructuring is something that Sri Lanka needs to look at very carefully and would need India's assistance. Now, you'd recall just 2 months ago, India had extended the debt repayment to the tune of about $1.75 billion. So, of course, the key IMF bailout as well can't be forgotten, which was given to Sri Lanka back when the Rajapaksas had fled and Sri Lanka had seen a massive economic downturn. So a lot on the agenda in that sense as well. But the Sri Lankan president, Dissanayake, will also be holding a meeting with the business community in a short while after this, once the press statement is given at Hyderabad House in New Delhi, where both Prime Minister Modi along with the Sri Lankan president, Dissanayake, will be here and will talk about the bilateral outcomes and the discussions that took place and what can be expected in terms of the momentum moving forward. The issue of Tamil Nadu fishermen who have time and again been arrested by the Sri Lankan Navy, and also an issue that could come up for discussion on how to have that issue resolved, particularly when we talk about the Park Strait. So, of course, expect more on those lines as well. And a press briefing is due in a short while from now. So these things will be made more clear as to what more details can be provided in terms of their detailed discussion, which still is ongoing. And you can expect the two leaders to come out and speak, give a press statement in just a short while from now.
But Jessica, agreements I think are likely to be signed maybe in cyber security, trade, investment, energy, and maybe maritime security too?
That's correct. Maritime security also an important component of the relationship between the two countries. Now, the Indian Ocean is a strategic space, as you know. 80% of India's oil imports take place on those waters. And Sri Lanka certainly is an important partner for India's maritime security and the Sagar initiative, which is the security and truth for all in the region. Given that, of course, Sri Lanka plays an eminent role there, and strengthening cooperation would certainly go a long way, as it has in the past as well. And it remains an important partner. You mentioned cybersecurity and trade, as also pointed earlier, energy connectivity, something that the country would need at this point, especially if you recall 2 years ago, where people were lining up outside petrol stations for 12 hours straight. There was no electricity. Things had come to a grinding halt for Sri Lanka, where tourism was affected. In fact, fertilizer trade was affected, and forex reserves were almost nearly gone, not even half. And a country that is right now staring at 100%, of its debt to GDP, so it certainly needs a lot more assistance from India, given that it has a timeline of another 5 years, which is 2028, since that IMF bailout package was given to Sri Lanka to give it some economic sustenance back then. So it would continue to seek India's support, and India, as in the past as well, would continue to enhance further regional connectivity with an important partner like Sri Lanka.
All right, Jessica, thank you for the time being, but yes, we'll keep coming back to you. Earlier, the visiting dignitary received a ceremonial welcome and guard of honor on his maiden state visit to India. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi warmly welcomed President Dissanayake at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan. The visit emphasizes the long-standing friendship between the two countries. President Dissanayake also paid his respects to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat this morning. Bapu's timeless values of truth and non-violence continues to inspire humanity all over the world. So India celebrates Vijay Divas on December 16 to mark its victory over Pakistan in the 1971 war. The war led to the liberation of East Pakistan and the creation of Bangladesh. The day commemorates the sacrifices made by the defence forces in the decisive war. DD India's Aarti Rana has this report.
December 16 marks a historic milestone for the Indian Armed Forces. It commemorates the exceptional sacrifice and triumphant victory of India in the War of 1971. The India-Pakistan War was triggered by the rebellion in erstwhile East Pakistan against Islamabad government. Following the victory of the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman-led Awami League in the 1971 elections, the Pakistani army used force to influence the results, leading to an exodus of people from Bangladesh. This compelled India to intervene. The war started after Pakistan launched airstrikes on Indian Air Force stations on December 3, 1971. Following this, India decided to support Bangladeshi nationalist groups and launched Operation Trident. The war, which was short and intense, was fought on both eastern and western fronts. After 13 days of fighting, General Amir Abdullah Khan Niazi, the chief of the Pakistani forces, signed the instrument of surrender to the Indian Army, along with his 93,000 troops, before Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora, then General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Indian Army's Eastern Command, and it led to the creation of Bangladesh from the former East Pakistan. It was also marked the largest military surrender since World War II. Vijay Divas celebrates the fearless vim and vigor of our Indian Armed Forces. It marks the greatest victory for the Indian Armed Forces and a defining moment in the history of Indian subcontinent. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
And on the occasion of Vijay Divas, India's leadership paid tribute to the fallen soldiers during Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. Taking to social media platform X, President Draupadi Murmu said, and I quote her, "On Vijay Divas, I pay homage to our valiant soldiers who displayed indomitable courage during the 1971 war, securing victory for India. A grateful nation remembers the ultimate sacrifice of our brave hearts, whose stories inspire every Indian and shall remain a source of national pride." Unquote. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar to remember the fallen heroes, saying, and I quote him, "On Vijay Divas, we pay homage to the martyrs of the 1971 war and honor the unmatched gallantry of our armed forces. Their heroic valor and selfless sacrifices, which led to a historic triumph, continue to inspire every Indian. We remain forever indebted to their service to the nation." Defence Minister Rajnath Singh too paid tribute, saying, "Today, on the special occasion of Vijay Divas, the nation salutes the bravery and sacrifice of India's armed forces. Their unwavering courage and patriotism ensure that our country remains safe. India will never forget their sacrifice and service." And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and also top military brass paid homage to 1971 war heroes on Vijay Divas. And Bangladesh is also celebrating the Victory Day today as the country was liberated from the Pakistani occupation forces in the year 1971 after a 9-month-long bloodstained war of liberation. President Mohammad Sahabuddin and Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus will lead the wreath-laying ceremony and various groups will follow to pay their respects. India and Bangladesh invite each other's war veterans, serving officers to participate annually in each other's Victory Day celebrations. 8 Mukti Jodhas and 2 serving officers of Bangladesh Armed Forces travelled to India for the Vijay Divas celebrations in Kolkata, while 8 Indian war veterans and 2 serving officers of the Indian Armed Forces are in Dhaka for the celebrations. On this day in 1971, General A.A.K. Niazi of the Pakistani Armed Forces surrendered to the Indian Army and Mukti Bahini forces. Bangladesh's interim leader, Mohammad Yunus, has announced on Monday that general elections would be held late next year or in early 2026. Nobel Prize laureate Yunus took charge of Bangladesh on August 8 as the chief advisor of his caretaker administration. He was nominated for the role by the student movement that led the weeks-long nationwide demonstrations. He has said that the interim government will prepare the country for new elections after a series of reforms. And several homes and trees were destroyed on the French archipelago of Mayotte in the Indian Ocean after Cyclone Chido swept through the region. Aerials filmed by the French overseas gendarmerie showed a devastated island after Cyclone Chido swept through overnight, bringing winds of more than 200 km per hour. The French Interior Ministry said that several hundred people may have been killed and damaged makeshift housing, government buildings and a hospital. Rescue personnel were dispatched to help pick up debris. The authorities added concerns about access to food, water and sanitation have also been raised after the storm. Cyclone Chido was the strongest storm in more than 90 years to hit the islands.
It's extremely difficult to say. I think there will certainly be several hundreds, perhaps approaching 1,000 or even a few thousands. I was myself at the command center with all my colleagues. Like each of us, we experienced this event. Inevitably, there is a much higher count. We will try to do the count because it is obviously up to us to draw up this toll.
And after devastating Mayotte, Cyclone Chido entered Mozambique on Sunday, toppling utility poles, shelters and flooding roads. A video published by the United Nations Children's Fund showed wind blowing through palm trees and flooded roads in Pemba. It said that they were responding to the needs of those affected by the storm. Malawi and Zimbabwe are also prepared for the flooding by cyclone as they warned their population for evacuation. Cyclones sweep through southeastern Indian Ocean and southern Africa from December to March. Moving further, South Korea's Constitutional Court started proceedings to decide on the validity of impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol over his martial law attempt, while investigators plan to question him this week. The court has around 6 months to determine whether to uphold the impeachment. Fresh elections must be held within 2 months if he is removed. Yoon and a number of senior officials face potential charges of insurrection for the short-lived martial law. A joint team of investigators from the police, the Defence Ministry and an anti-corruption agency are planning to call Yoon in for questioning on Wednesday. On Sunday, Yoon did not appear in response to a summons for questioning by a separate investigation by the prosecutor's office. His presidential powers will be suspended until the Constitutional Court decides whether to formally remove him from office or reinstate him. Yoon remains under a travel ban while the probe is underway. Meanwhile, leader of South Korea's ruling party, Han Dong-hoon, said that he was stepping down 2 days after the parliament passed impeachment vote. Despite party backlash over his call for President Yoon's impeachment, Han said he had no regrets in doing so. Now, the Israeli government on Sunday unanimously approved a plan to enhance Israeli settlement building in the occupied Syrian Golan Heights following the toppling of Syria's longtime leader Bashar al-Assad. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said the government had unanimously approved the demographic development of the occupied territory, which would seek to double the Israeli population there. The new plan is only for the portion of the Golan Heights that Israel has occupied since 1967. In 1981, Israel's Knesset moved to impose Israeli law over the territory in an effective annexation. The seized area, which had been demilitarized as part of an agreement reached after the 1973 war, also includes Mount Hermon overlooking the Syrian capital, Damascus. In a statement, Netanyahu praised the plan, which provides more than $11 million to increase the settler population. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with US President-elect Donald Trump about a recent push to secure the release of Israeli and foreign hostages held by Hamas in Gaza.
I discussed all of this again last night with my friend US President-elect Donald Trump. It was a very friendly, very warm and very important conversation. We talked about the need to complete Israel's victory, and we also talked at length about the efforts we are making to free our hostages. We constantly continue to work tirelessly to return our hostages home, living and dead alike.
Moving on to Syria now, where calm is slowly returning to the streets of Damascus. Children are streaming back to school for the first time since Assad fled. Syrian Christians also attended regular Sunday services for the first time since the dramatic overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad a week ago, in an early test of assurances by the new Islamist rulers that the rights of minorities will be protected. Before Assad fell, historic religious minority groups, including Christians, worshipped freely, and some remained jittery at the prospect of an Islamist government. Syria is home to multiple ethnic and religious minorities, including Christians, Armenians, Kurds, and Shiite Muslims. The Assad family itself belongs to the minority Alawite faith, an offshoot of Shiite Islam in Sunni Muslim majority Syria. Tens of thousands of mostly Shiite Muslims have fled Syria for Lebanon in the last week out of fear of persecution by the country's new rulers. Now, Tabla maestro Ustad Zakir Hussain passes away at the age of 73. The family, in a statement, said that Hussain died due to complications arising out of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. It added that he leaves behind an extraordinary legacy cherished by countless music lovers around the globe, with an influence that will resonate for generations to come. The percussionist, one of India's most celebrated classical musicians, received the Padma Shri in 1988, the Padma Bhushan in 2002 and Padma Vibhushan in 2023. Hussain has received 4 Grammy Awards in his career, including 3 at the 66th Grammy Awards earlier this year. In his career spanning 6 decades, the musician worked with several renowned international and Indian artists, but it was his 1973 musical project with English guitarist John McLaughlin, violinist L. Shankar and percussionist T.H. Vikku Vinakaram that brought together Indian classical and elements of jazz in a fusion hitherto unknown. Starting early, at the age of 7, he went on to collaborate with virtually all of India's iconic performers, including Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan and Shiv Kumar Sharma in his career. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed deep condolences on the sudden demise of iconic Indian tabla maestro Ustad Zakir Hussain. On social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed, as I quote, "Deeply saddened by the passing of the legendary tabla maestro Ustad Zakir Hussain ji. He will be remembered as a true genius who revolutionized the world of Indian classical music. He also brought the tabla to the global stage, captivating millions with his unparalleled rhythm. Through this, he seamlessly blended Indian classical traditions with global music, thus becoming an icon of cultural unity. His iconic performances and soulful compositions will contribute to inspire generations of musicians and music lovers alike. My heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and the global music community." Unquote. And India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences, If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.